Good morning, students. Our today's topic in Islamiyat is main features of Sunni and Shia collections of Ahadith. One of the very important topic in Islamiyat. So concentrate yourself. First, we are going to read the features of the Sunni books. And in Sunni books, first book is Sahih Bukhari. Shows about 7,275 traditions out of some 600,000 hadiths. So very carefully selected this book is. Divided the whole work into 97 books, which were subdivided into 3,450 chapters. The hadiths were arranged according to their subject matters under separate headings. The headings are taken from Quranic verses or from the traditions. Used less exacting criteria for choosing the headings. Headings are sometimes of narrower significance and are used as an additional subject of interpretation. Sometimes headings are not followed by traditions at all. Various versions of the single hadith are repeated in different chapters. Sometimes one part of the tradition is in one chapter, whereas the remaining part in some other chapter. Introduced the suspended traditions as marfu and mawqut. Hadiths are mentioned with their isnad. Isnad is actually the list of the transmitters. So, hadiths are mentioned with their isnad. Now we are going to read the features of Sahih Muslim book. Examined around a third of the million hadiths, from which he chose only about 4,000. Imam Muslim regarded a hadith only as Sahih. It was handed down by a chain of the reliable authorities. He introduced a threefold classification system of ahadith. There were ahadith narrated by those who were honest and straightforward in their narrations, make the bulk of the book. Secondly, there were those narrations by those who were not distinguished for good memory and steadfastness. Lastly, there were those narrations by those of the questionable authority, entirely rejected. The book is not as comprehensive as Imam Bukhari. However, it is more consistent than Bukhari in pointing out differences between the different narrations. Shows greater skill in arrangement of the hadiths and their isnads. Presents different version of a hadith in a single place. Added a long introduction to his book explaining the principles he observed in choosing material for the book. Now we are going to read the features of Sunan Abu Dawud. Examined about 500,000 ahadith but selected only 4,800 for his work. Included not only Sahih but also some doubtful traditions. Also relied on some subjects of the criticism. Quoted a tradition together with its source along with the various versions of that hadith. Draws attention to the defects of certain traditions he cited. Took only those parts of the long ahadith that are relevant to the issue. Contains mainly legal traditions. So these were the features. Now we are going to read the features of Jami Tirmizi. contains traditions which are only legal, dogmatic, or historical. Hasan tradition is defined by Imam Tirmizi as a hadith, not sahih, but also not entirely wrong. He characterized a hadith as sahih, sound, Hasan, fair, sahih Hasan, Hasan sahih, gharib, rare, zaif, weak, or munkar, un, undetermined. Ahadith mainly relate to the subjects such as law, day of judgment, heaven and hell, the Quran, prayers, rewards, punishments, and manners. Imam Tirmizi first takes one or two traditions from which the headings of the particular chapter can be derived. Then he gives his opinion about the quality of the hadith. He then discusses the opinions of the early jurists. He also mentions if there are traditions transmitted by other companions on the same subject. Now we are going to read the features of Sunan Nasai. Contains a fair number of the weak traditions. Nasai's main object was not only to establish the text of the traditions, but also record differences between their various versions. He mentions the differences between the various narrators, and points out even the smallest difference between them. After giving various versions of hadith, he proves how some of them are incorrect. He is also known for his strictness in assessing authorities. Now we are going to read the features of Sunan Ibn Majah. Collected 4,341 ahadith in 32 books, dividing them into 1,500 chapters. 1,339 ahadith are unique to him. Only 428 ahadith of his are considered sahih. Mainly deals with the legal traditions. Very less repetitions. One of the best in the arrangement of the chapters and sub-chapters. Now we are going to read the features of the Shia books. And in Shia books, first book is Kitabul Kafi. It is a 12-ver Shia Hadith collection compiled by Muhammad Yaqub Kuleni, divided into 3 parts. Number 1 is Usulul Kafi, concerned with the principles of religion. Includes 15,176 traditions, from which 5,072 are considered sahih. The second is Furu'ul Kafi. Contains books and sections on jurisprudence, made up of 8 volumes. One of the authoritative reference book for Ijtihad. And the third one is Rawzatul Kafi, concerned with the various religious aspects. Includes some writings of the Imams. Sheikh Saduq, the famous Shia scholar, did not believe in complete authenticity of the book. The second book of Shias, whose features we are going to read, is Malla Yahduruhu al-Faqih, one of the famous 12-ver Shia Hadith collections, compiled by Al-Sheikh Al-Suduq or Ibn Babawai, whose real name was Abu Jafar Muhammad bin Al-Kumi. The book is not entirely Sahih, it's entirely Sahih. The literal translation of the book's title is For Him Not in the Presence of a Jurisprudent. In the introduction, the author explains the circumstances of its composition and the reason for its title. The book is a summary of the study of the legal traditions. Generally, the isnads are not mentioned. Regarded as the most reliable hadith collection. The next book, whose features we are going to read, is Tehzeebul Ahkam, a famous 12-verse Shia hadith collection compiled by Abu Jafar Muhammad bin Hassan Tusi, commonly known as Imam Tusi. The title could be translated as The Refinement of the Laws. The original intention of Al-Tusi had been to write a commentary on Al-Muqniya or of Al-Mufid. The purpose of writing this book was the great differences arising between Shia traditions. He concerns the practical regulations for implementing Shia law. The next book, the last one, whose features which we are going to read, is Al-Istibsar, written by Al-Tusi and covers the same field as Tehzeebul Ahkam. His colleagues requested him to write a book which could be used as a reference book for everyone. Al-Istibsar is a summary of Tehzeebul Ahkam. Its methods are briefer. There are not so many traditions and explanations are more concise. It gives full isnad for the traditions quoted. So students, this was the topic, the features of the Hadith book. So this is very important topic. Read this lecture again, learn it and make your notes. Thank you so much, students.